Hey there everyone, Art Burns here. I'm so happy to be outside again doing these videos. I'm so grateful. There's no buzzsaw, there's no wood chipper, there's no wind or rain preventing me from doing this, and I'm just so grateful. And I'm wishing you well. I wanted you to know that first, of course. But this is a really great segue to what I want to talk about, because what I want to talk about today is how we suffer through some of our experiences, right? Because a lot of times we feel like it's the experience itself that creates the suffering in our bodies, right? Or in our experience of whatever level you want to talk about. But it's much more accurate to say that the suffering we might be feeling from an experience is not from the experience itself, but more so from for the inability or the unwillingness to accept that situation, right? In other words, the situation does not meet with our expectations, and therefore we're not willing to accept the difference, and therefore we bring suffering into our bodies. A great example of this is being stuck in traffic, right? You leave work, you're looking forward to getting home, and you got cold beers in the refrigerator or whatever, and you're looking forward to getting home and relaxing and having a nice time. But here you are stuck in traffic. So a lot of times what we do is we blame the traffic. Now, I'm not saying that we should like traffic. Of course, nobody likes being stuck in traffic. But if you're sitting in traffic, and you're thinking about the beer in your refrigerator, and you're thinking about how upset you are that you're not by your refrigerator and near that beer right now, and the fact that you're, being detained or being delayed or what have you, what winds up happening is we sit there, we kind of grip that steering wheel a little harder, and we feel the stress start to increase in our bodies. We feel tightness in our chest. We feel maybe a heat in our ears, and we feel all these things, right? But this is not coming just from the traffic. Again, I'm not saying you should like being stuck in traffic, and there's many things you can do to avoid traffic, right? You can take a different route home. You can maybe leave a little earlier, or maybe even stay in the office a little longer so you miss the traffic. There's many different ways in which you can try to avoid the situations that might cause, that might open you up to the suffering, right? But my point is that when something's going wrong, right, and you could apply this to any situation in your life, the COVID quarantine, the anything in your life, you could apply this same philosophy to, right? That when something is kind of going wrong, when you judge something as a bad situation, if you're not accepting the situation for what it is, you're only making that worse, and you're creating suffering within your body. Now, the practice that I went over yesterday, the meditation I gave you, and I told you how to do it formally yesterday and informally the day before. The process of holding in awareness, right, and non-judging awareness, the sensations of our body, the emotions that go through our body, the thoughts that go through our mind, and the tendencies and patterns and sort of programming that drive the whole process, right? When we can hold these things in non-judging awareness, and we can practice holding these things in non-judging awareness, there's something really important that we discover very early on, that as it pertains to acceptance, right? And this thing that we discover very early on is that all of these things are impermanent, right? The sensations of your body, they don't last forever. Even the greatest discomfort, the greatest pain is not just this constant feeling. There's an ebb and a flow and a pulsation to it, and there's an end to it, right? It doesn't last forever, right? The same thing happens with emotions. There's, doctors, neuroscientists and psychologists will tell you that an emotion lasts in your mind and your body for about 90 seconds, right? No longer. The actual emotion, like as a physical thing, it only lasts for 90 seconds. Everything beyond that is by your doing, right? And of course, we can feel an emotion for hours, if not days, if not weeks. Some people feel certain emotions for their whole lives, right? And that is because we're feeding those emotions, right? And most of what we're feeding it comes from the non-acceptance of it, right? And the same thing goes with your thoughts. Thoughts are not one big thing that just pop into your mind. It's like a over and over and over again thing, right? Like little thoughts, like kind of, shooting through your mind, right? And that's why we call them a train of thoughts, right? One thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought, leads to another thought, right? But when we bring awareness to this process, right, the same as our sensations, the same with our emotions, we realize that none of it is permanent. It's constantly moving. It's constantly transitioning. It's constantly evolving. And once we can really feel that, right, and we can really, embody that impermanence, then we can really start to, we have a much easier time at that point to accept whatever it is that's happening to us, right? And in that acceptance, that's where we can really disrupt the suffering that we might be feeling. Now, again, I'm not saying that you're supposed to enjoy being stuck in traffic, right? That's not the point. It's not the point to just say, okay, I'll just accept whatever life, hands me, and I'll never, try to improve my situation. Okay, that's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that there are times where you're just going to find yourself in a certain situation, and when you can accept that that is what's happening, right? Whether you like it or not, whether it's inconvenient or not, whether it's a hassle or painful or whatever it is, right? If you can just accept it, then you're creating the most convenient and least amount of suffering to get through whatever it is, right? And that's the key, right? Because we don't want to add suffering, to something that's already kind of a hassle, right? Like again, getting stuck in traffic, is a hassle. It's inconvenient. It causes issues with our day and stuff, right? But by not accepting that we're stuck in traffic, we're only making the matter worse, making the situation worse. All right, so if you want any more information about that, you'd like to know more about this, concept of acceptance and the concepts of impermanence, or if you'd like some other practices to really start to work on this for yourself, please drop a comment below, send me a direct message. Let's start a conversation. I would love to help you out with this. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. Art Burns, wishing you well. I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care.